Hello and welcome back. We're taking another look at the message of the crucifixion today. And the central idea that we're working with is that you cannot be persecuted. We did see this in the last video. And this is part of the message that Jesus is teaching us. Now, the question for each and every one of us is, are we willing to accept it? Are we willing to revisit our understanding of the crucifixion in light of the material presented in this course, in light of these ideas? Central to which is the notion that you cannot be persecuted. You're not a body. You cannot be persecuted. Bodies certainly do, they can and they do go to work on other bodies, nailing them to crosses in an extreme example. But slapping them, punching them, hitting them, one body can certainly destroy and pummel and chop another one into oblivion. But that's not the Son of God. It's not you. It's not who you are. It's not who I am. It's not who your worst enemy is. It's not who we are. So we see this idea again. And this is part of why we can't be persecuted. There's only perfect oneness. So with perfect oneness, it literally means oneness. There is no separate other person, no separate other being, no Roman soldier to persecute you. There's no Pontius Pilate to condemn you and sentence you to death. There is no other out there. There is no one out there, in a manner of speaking. There is only perfect oneness. In perfect oneness, there is no persecution. There's no other to persecute. It's an idea that we repeat over and over again, isn't it, in the study and practice of this course, where the pop culture idea, this notion that we just dismiss that it's so yesterday. I've seen that already. Right? That attitude is most unhelpful here, isn't it? It might be the 745th time that you hear an idea that it really clicks for you and it really truly begins to inform your practice moment to moment, and you really truly begin to get that you are the Son of God, one with your Creator, one. Maybe today that hits home. We're continuing with the message of the crucifixion, which is chapter 6, section 1 of the text. And yesterday we looked at the first 5 paragraphs. We're going to look in this discussion today at paragraphs 6 through 11. And as always, you're invited to read and reread as your inner teacher directs, which may be multiple times. And if it is, that's cool. Good. So be it. Again, the 747th time that we hear an idea might be the time that it sticks. As we teach, we learn. What we teach, we learn. How you show up in the world demonstrates what you learn about it. So do you see yourself as persecuted, as a victim of the world you see? Do you perceive yourself as a martyr? Many of us do. Perhaps you do too. And it may be that there are times in your life under certain circumstances where you can look back and think, oh, yeah, I really was playing the victim card here. We're invited to teach, rather than persecution, our perfect immunity. We're invited to teach our perfect immunity, which cannot be assailed. We cannot be harmed. We cannot be assailed or killed. Who you are is not the physical body. You cannot be killed. You cannot be assailed, nor can you be attacked. There's no separate other to attack. You cannot be persecuted. We're invited to teach this lesson. What happens when we teach that we cannot be persecuted? We learn that we cannot be persecuted. Now, teaching, naturally, does not have to look the same for each and every one of us here in the world. I've got this YouTube channel and a camera and microphone, and I'm broadcasting to people worldwide. This is not the way that you necessarily have to do it. Your inner teacher may have you showing up in a very different way, but it's no less powerful. It's just as powerful as broadcasting to a worldwide audience. We're all responding to the direction of our inner teacher here. That's what's going on. And the content of our inner teacher's message is one and the same. It's wholly, completely consistent at all times. What appears to differ is the outward form. You may be approaching your brother and teaching, communicating in a very different way than I am. This is my own personal directive. So we appear to have all of these individual relationships with our inner teacher, but it's one relationship. Our inner teacher is shared, and the content of his message is exactly the same. So let's teach our perfect immunity and that we are not a body. We cannot be assailed. Therefore, any attack from one illusion to another illusion is not justifiable. It's nothing. Very true. And we're invited to see it as such. We're invited to believe that. Therefore, that's what we teach and learn. So, in this section of the text, Jesus cuts right to the chase. The teaching here is the most outrageous, gruesome assault, as judged by the ego, does not matter. The most punitive, violent assault, as the ego sees it and judges it, does not matter. It's an illusion. So by this most outrageous assault, it's an execution with extremely brutal means. First of all, a scourging, flogging multiple times, then being forced to wear a crown of thorns and drag a heavy wooden cross through the streets, only to reach a place where you're going to have nails driven into your hands, yeah, and hung from the cross. An outrageous assault, outrageous as judged by the ego, bloody, brutal. very, very sadistic, and very Roman, speaking in historical terms, right? So that to the ego is very brutal. It's an assault on the body. Yet Jesus's teaching is, I cannot be assaulted. I cannot be persecuted. I'm teaching our perfect immunity. I'm teaching that the most outrageous assault, as judged by the ego, does not matter. Now, this is, for teaching purposes, an extreme example, and we're told throughout this passage here, this section of the text, that we don't have to do the same thing. We don't have to go through such an extreme teaching opportunity. We're tempted to misperceive in far less egregious ways than that, aren't we? But the lesson is the same, that we are the Son of God. We cannot be persecuted. And the most outrageous assaults of the ego do not matter because they're not real. So we're invited to perceive this way. We're invited to see it this way. It's a change of mind. A Course in Miracles is about a change of mind. It's about purifying our perception, clarifying it, if you will, learning to see things as they are rather than how we would have them be, because when we see them how we would make them out, we've got a whole ball of suffering going on. We're not persecuted. You're not persecuted. So any judgment that we make that's out of accord with the judgment of the Holy Spirit is not justifiable. Anytime we see ourselves as a body and lash out and attack, it's not justifiable. It's a mistake. It doesn't make us bad people. It doesn't make us grievous, evil sinners. There is no sin. God has no ego to be offended. There's only perfect oneness. How can there be sin? There's no transgression. Let's repeat that. There is no transgression. And no, God is not angry at you for being a miserable little sinner. So if you're holding on to that idea, this is an invitation to let that go. You're welcome to hold on to it as long as you like. Remember, this is a self-study course, and what you see talking to you is quite simply an image on your screen. It's a pixelated image on your screen. When something lands for you, it's your inner teacher. This message is your inner teacher speaking to you. You can choose to accept the message or not. Your choice. So in this, we see the genius of this course. It's a self-study curriculum. We learn under the guidance of our inner teacher, with whom I invite you to connect. When something lands and resonates, that's your inner teacher speaking to you. It does not have to come in the form of a verbal statement that you recognize in your own language. It doesn't have to be that way. It can be an intuitive hit. It can be a feeling that you just get. You could see something or hear something in the world, apparently, outside of you that reminds you of truth. There are many ways your inner teacher communicates with you. So we're invited to stay aware of that, to stay alert to that. You cannot be persecuted. You're not a body. Who you are is the Son of God, the thought of God. And you know what? Ideas, i.e., thoughts of God, leave not their source. Capital S. Yeah. We're invited to see it that way. Ideas leave not their source. You have never left your source. You cannot be persecuted, harmed, or assailed in any way. Powerful. Now, you don't have to believe it. And here in practice, there are times where we're tempted to say, well, what if someone comes at me? Should I just sit there and take it? Well, you don't have to do that. And nobody's saying allow the physical body to be pummeled, beaten, bruised, and defeated, and killed and hung from a cross with nails driven through your hands. We're not saying that. Jesus tells us repeatedly that we don't have to go through such an extreme example. So, Doc, get out of the way. If someone comes after you, step aside. This is a communication device, and there are people out there in the world that you can reach better than anyone else can reach them. You're here to share the Holy Spirit with them. So let's keep the communication device going here. It's not you anyway, but there are people that you will reach. And these are the people that will help you to awaken, because when you share the Holy Spirit with them, when you do, you will recognize what you have in your mind and have always had in your mind. We share. That's how God creates, by extending, by sharing his being, his love. And here in the world, our true forgiveness mirrors this. We share the Holy Spirit with our brother. So it is true that you cannot be persecuted. And it's also true that the most outrageous assault, as judged by the ego, does not matter. It's just as illusory as anything else. Happily, we don't have to undergo such a situation. But we would do very well to learn what Jesus actually means by this. And it is this section, there are others, but it is this section of the text of A Course in Miracles in particular that talks about this expressly. It's chapter 6, section 1, the message of the crucifixion. So there's more to come on this section. So we'll continue with this thread in the coming days. But you cannot be persecuted. So however many times you need to hear that or repeat that, please do, because it's true. And let's learn to see it that way. Let us all learn this course. Let us learn to perceive truly. All right. Thank you for joining me. The subscription button is right here. That's the red arrow. I'd love to have you join us. And comments and questions are more than welcome here. This material, as is the case with really any spiritual path, can raise as many questions as it answers. So if you've got them, please feel welcome to send them here. Okay, thank you so much. I will see you soon.